You ever walk into a bookstore or just scroll online and feel totally buried by all the leadership advice out there? I mean, every single book seems to promise the secret, right? The one magic formula. But here's a thought. What if the real secret isn't in just one book, but in how the best ones connect? Well, in this explainer, that's exactly what we've done. We've synthesized 9 of the most important books on leadership into a single, cohesive playbook.
So what is it? What's the one secret to being truly effective? It's the question that drives pretty much everything we do, whether we're leading a company, a small team, or, just trying to lead our own lives. And the answer, as we're about to see, isn't a destination, it's a journey. And it's a journey that starts not by looking out at the world, but by looking inward.
And that really brings us to the core theme of this whole thing. And the late, great Stephen R. Covey just nailed it with this quote, "Real, lasting effectiveness, the kind that builds amazing companies and genuinely fulfilling lives. It's not something you can just put on like a new suit. It has to radiate from your core. It's an inside-out job. You have to master yourself before you can even think about leading anyone else."
Okay, so how are we going to build this inside-out leader? Well, our path forward is pretty logical. We're going to start with the absolute bedrock, finding your why. Once we have that anchor, we'll turn our focus inward for the inside-out journey of self-mastery. Only then can we look outward to understand the fascinating chemistry of teams, and finally, we'll see how all these pieces click together to create leadership that lasts.
All right, let's dive into Section 1, Finding Your Why. See, before you can figure out what you're going to do or how you're going to do it, you have to be totally anchored to your purpose, your fundamental belief. This isn't just a feel-good idea, it's the guiding principle for literally everything that comes next. To really get this, we gotta look at Simon Sinek's brilliant framework, the Golden Circle. Now, most people and most companies think from the outside in. They know what they do, they know how they do it, but the truly great ones, the ones that really inspire us, they flip that completely. They think, they act, and they talk from the inside out. They start with why. And the why isn't about making money. That's just a result. The why is the purpose, the cause, the belief that gets you fired up to get out of bed in the morning. And the difference here is, it's everything. When you lead with what, you're basically playing a commodity game. You're talking about price, features, special offers. Sinek calls these manipulations. And sure, they might work in the short term, they might get you a sale, but they will never earn you loyalty. But when you lead with why, like Apple does, you're not just selling a phone or a computer. You're selling a belief. You're inviting people to join a cause, to challenge the status quo. People don't just buy what you do, they buy why you do it. That's the huge difference between a one-off transaction and a deep, lasting connection.
So once you've got your why locked in, that's when the real work begins. And that brings us to Section 2, the inside-out journey. Here, we're going to lean on the incredible wisdom of Stephen R. Covey. To understand a fundamental truth, leading other people is flat out impossible until you can effectively lead yourself.
Covey points out that for a long, long time, we've all been kind of obsessed with what he calls the personality ethic. The quick fixes, the power posing, the communication hacks, the stuff that makes us look good. But that's all surface level. It's like putting a Band-Aid on a broken bone. Real effectiveness, the kind that lasts, comes from the character ethic. This is about deep, universal principles like integrity, courage, and honesty. It's not about looking good. It's about being good.
So this leads to a really important question for all of us. Are you proactive or are you reactive? See, reactive people spend all their time and energy worrying about their circle of concern. The weather, the economy, what other people are doing, stuff they have zero control over. And all that worrying actually shrinks their influence. But proactive people, they do the exact opposite. They pour their energy into their circle of influence, their choices, their habits, their attitude, their work, the things they can control. And guess what happens? That circle starts to grow.
This all builds towards what Covey calls the private victory, and it's built on his first 3 habits. Step 1, be proactive. You're the one in the driver's seat of your life. Step 2, begin with the end in mind. This is where you define your personal why, your own constitution. And step 3, put first things first. This is where the rubber meets the road, where you live out those priorities every single day, focusing on what's important, not just what's urgent. These 3 steps are how you go from being dependent to truly independent. This is the heart of self-mastery.
And this whole journey, it is not a race. As Sal Khan, the founder of Khan Academy, teaches us, true mastery has to be self-paced. Think about it. If you have a gap in your foundation, whether that's in algebra or in your own character, you can't just ignore it and build on top of it. It doesn't work. You have to go back and fix the cracks. And that's exactly what this inside-out journey is about, building a rock-solid personal foundation, one principle at a time.
Okay, so once you've achieved that private victory, once you've got your own house in order, you're ready for the next level. Welcome to Section 3, the chemistry of teams. This is where we make the leap from being independent to being interdependent, figuring out how to build something together that's way bigger and better than what any of us could do alone.
But what's the #1 killer of great teamwork? Well, Patrick Lencioni just hits the nail on the head with this definition. It's politics. You know that feeling, right? That subtle, toxic force that shows up when people are more worried about protecting themselves and managing perceptions than they are about just being honest and getting to the truth. And the only antidote to that poison? It's trust.
And trust, as Simon Sinek explains so brilliantly, isn't just some soft, fuzzy feeling. It's actual biology. Our bodies run on a cocktail of chemicals that drive our behavior. You've got endorphins and dopamine. Those are the selfish chemicals. They feel good, and they push us to achieve individual goals. But then you have serotonin and oxytocin. These are the selfless chemicals. They're the source of connection, pride, and trust. And then there's cortisol, the chemical of stress and fear. When cortisol floods our system, it literally shuts down the production of oxytocin. It kills empathy. So a leader's job, chemically speaking, is to create an environment where people feel safe so those selfless chemicals can work their magic. And the difference this makes on a team is just night and day. We've all seen a dysfunctional team, right? Fear is everywhere, politics are rampant, people hoard information and spend more energy protecting themselves from each other than from the competition. But when a leader creates what Sinek calls a circle of safety, the entire dynamic flips. People feel protected by the group. They trust each other. Information flows and innovation explodes because nobody's afraid to raise their hand, admit a mistake, or try something new.
And look, this isn't just about everyone being in the same physical office. In today's world of remote and hybrid work, creating that circle of safety is actually more important than ever. It doesn't happen by accident when you're all on Zoom. You have to build it on purpose, with crystal clear rules for communication, and by using technology not just to manage tasks, but to intentionally create real human connection.
All right, this brings us to our final section, leadership that lasts. We've mastered ourselves, we've figured out how to build incredible teams. Now, for the final question. How do we scale these principles to build an entire organization that doesn't just do well, but achieves true, enduring greatness? In his landmark study, Good to Great, Jim Collins found something fascinating. Every single company that made the leap from just being good to being truly great had a specific kind of person at the helm. He called them Level 5 leaders. And here's the kicker. They weren't the flashy, charismatic celebrity CEOs you see on magazine covers. No, they were a paradox. They were incredibly humble, almost shy on a personal level, but they had this ferocious, unstoppable professional will. Their ambition wasn't for their own glory. It was for the cause, for the company.
Collins gives us a simple but incredibly powerful way to spot these leaders: the window and the mirror. When things are going great, Level 5 leaders look out the window, giving all the credit to their team, to other people, to good luck. But when things go wrong, they look straight in the mirror. They take full personal responsibility. It is the absolute polar opposite of the ego-driven leader who's always first in line to take credit and first to point fingers when there's blame to go around.
So how do these leaders maintain that relentless focus? They guide their organizations to find what Collins calls the hedgehog concept. It's about finding the simple, elegant truth at the intersection of 3 circles by asking 3 brutally honest questions. 1. What are we deeply passionate about? 2. What can we be the absolute best in the world at? And 3. What drives our economic engine?
And this right here brings our entire journey full circle. The hedgehog concept is really just the organizational version of Start with Why.
It's that simple, crystal-clear truth that becomes the ultimate filter for every decision. If a new opportunity doesn't fit squarely inside your hedgehog, you just don't do it. It's the key to the relentless focus that's required to go from good to great.
But what happens when that great leader eventually moves on? The legendary leadership expert John C. Maxwell gives us the final, crucial piece of the puzzle. The ultimate test of a leader isn't what they build. It's what they leave behind. Your true, lasting value is measured by how well the organization does after you're gone.
And there you have it. 9 of the most powerful books ever written on leadership, all woven together into one single powerful journey. It starts with finding your why. It moves to the private victory of mastering yourself. It then expands to building a circle of safety and trust with your team. And it all culminates in creating an organization that isn't just successful, but is truly great and built to last.
So the principles are clear. The path is laid out. But in the end, it all comes down to the choices you make. Your legacy. It isn't some big monument you build at the end of your career. It's written in the 1,000 small, disciplined, courageous actions you take every single day. So the only real question left is, what will yours be?